Good afternoon and welcome to the Energy Talks. The Energy Talks is a series of podcasts in the interview format that we will run. We've been running since this summer. We'll run until the Green Hydrogen Summit Oman, taking place from the 30th of November to the 3rd of December of this year. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Akram Azerbayev, who is the Vice President, Business Development of OQ Alternative Energy. Welcome to the talk, Akram.
Thank you. Delighted to be here, Lionel.
Thank you. And I feel really privileged for this particular podcast because we have a representative of the national energy champion in Oman, and I cannot think of a better organization to give us an overview of the emerging market of decarbonized energy. And I will have 30 minutes together to really cover a number of angles of this emerging market. And I'd like to start with you on a relatively high level, as we normally do here, and explore, get your overview of the role and the initiatives that OQ as a group, and in particular OQ Alternative Energy as a vertical, a strong vertical of OQ, to play into the energy transition in Oman as a start.
Yeah, thank you, Lionel. It's a great question because indeed, as most people know in Oman, OQ is an energy group. Well, it's actually much more than just energy group because it also has natural resources. But of course, at its core is energy. And today, no energy company is complete without having a part of the company that works on energy transition. Yeah. And in the case of Oman, it's helping energy transition of the group, but also it's also how to position Oman as a leader in energy transition in the world. Yeah, and that's where I see is of course for us in OQ, we are very much guided by a national agenda. Yeah, first part of the national agenda is of course Oman Net Zero 2050 goal. The second national goal is Oman Vision 2040, with things like diversification, with things like sustainable cities. These are the things like employment and opportunities with clean energy skills. These are all the things that inspire us and that form part of our strong agenda in not just being aligned, but being a company that works on implementation of the vision of Oman. Yeah.
Excellent. And on that side, of course, OQ is also operating outside Oman. If I am not mistaken, OQ as a group is operating to probably more than 15 countries in the world through growth, external growth, acquisition, and so on. I'd like to get your view on how much of that activity and operations outside Oman is imprinted into what Oman does at home.
Right. Okay. Well, indeed, it's true that of course OQ is an Omani company with a very large international presence. And what does that mean for us is that for much of what we do in OQE is actually focused at the world markets. Yeah, at the world markets. You know, for instance, we have joint ventures in hydrogen that are looking at exports, at helping to deliver the future where Oman remains a international supplier to the global energy markets, be it Japan, be it Europe, be it Korea. And being part of an international company like OQ puts us in this global frame, that we are here to help deliver energy transition in Oman, but also to provide the world with green or low carbon energy.
Absolutely. And maybe before we move and dive a little bit more specifically into the green operations or green area, one last point is since OQ is a diversified and integrated organization in terms of energy portfolio with oil and gas and LNG. How do you see the history and the successful experience of OQ as an energy trader being applicable to the green molecules that OQ is going to be investing, producing, and trading in the future?
Yeah, I think this goes hand in hand. So if you can imagine companies like OQ Trading, which export Oman's product abroad, deal with customers, and many of these customers are faced with decarbonization need. Yeah, and of course, when they look at decarbonization, they look to their existing suppliers and they ask them, well, what products can you offer us that will address decarbonization requirements that many countries have? And that's where we come in, because we are working with other subsidiaries of OQ to help our existing businesses to bring green products into their export offering. Yeah,
absolutely.
Another aspect of that is that also we have companies that export internationally, but would like to reduce carbon intensity of their products. And that's where we're also discussing opportunities with our sister companies in supplying them with hydrogen to reduce the carbon intensity of their product and make it more sustainable in the world where customers are looking to green products. Yeah.
Excellent.
So this is where we feel the fact that we are an energy company that supplies energy in global markets actually helps us to help Oman deliver value propositions for their international customers.
Very good. Excellent. Which brings me to another part of the supply chain, and we're now going to be focusing, of course, on this discussion on the green hydrogen and derivatives. In this country, we have a number of very key players, national champions, and I'm thinking about Hydro, of course, the orchestrator of the green hydrogen market, doing a spectacular jobs in framing and facilitating the growth of that emerging market. We also have other champions. We have Asiat, for example, being the logistic and port terminal champions. So before we talk about the project, I'd like to get your thoughts or your view on, with those sisters company that you referred to, them, how do you see that partnership? We're talking partnership within the boundary of the Sultanate of Oman. So how do you see the strategic partnership with whether it's Asiad, Hydro, or even CZAD or other economic areas?
Yeah. Well, with Hydro, it is quite direct, because effectively all of our hydrogen projects, they are running under the sort of banner of Hydro projects. So we work very closely with Hydro, and of course what it provides Oman with is the fact that Oman interests are present in facilitation of projects like Hydro and on the investment side of hydrogen through us. So that provides Oman with a complete presence in hydrogen. In hydrogen projects. If you take other companies which are state-owned, national companies like Asiat, or in Oman, but also beyond Oman, the sectors they work in are decarbonizing. So let's say International Maritime Association is International Maritime Organization is actually one of the champions of decarbonization. And unlike many other international organizations, it actually has a ability to enforce certain mandates, and companies like Asiat would follow those mandates, if they are accepted and approved. Now, and this is where we offer solutions, because a large part of the future of decarbonization of shipping fleet worldwide is ammonia. So, and ammonia is something that we're working on a number of our projects. So this is you can think of it as a the way that I put it is that for a country like Oman, decarbonization and energy transition is not only a challenge, it is incredible opportunity because of the fact that Oman is fortunate to have these reserves or resource of solar, of coastal wind and solar. So that's so this is the opportunity that we're trying to develop that positions Oman for maximizing those opportunities.
Excellent, yeah. And as you said, there is a long history, successful history of operating in the energy sector. We have pool of talent. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this interview. Pool of talents that may need a slightly different twist into the training and capture of the knowledge, more specifically associated with the green molecules. But we do have that as a very strong foundation to grow and being a leading country in that. So thank you very much for that. Again, before we probably talk about the challenge aspect of an emerging market such as green hydrogen, I'd like we talk about the opportunities. And OQ has announced a number of projects, very interesting project. In fact, OQ was involved straight from day one into one of the prominent projects. And the one I have in mind is the Highport project in Duqm.
Yes, absolutely.
Duqm has been earmarked as a strategic investment opportunity for the green hydrogen, as well as other elements of the diversification of the economy, but definitely a big one. So I'd like we start with, explore, especially for the audience that may not know what all the projects that OQ Alternative Energy is involved in. Like to start with that one, because that's the one that has been working on for probably the longest period of time. And Highport is obviously that will give you an opportunity to talk about the partners here. It's a sizable project. It's a critical and strategic project. So I'd like you to get your view, your thoughts, and how you're moving forward with that one.
I see. Well, it's a great question. Now, I, of course, cannot speak on behalf of the Highport, because Highport is a joint venture, and only joint venture can speak on its behalf. But I can certainly tell that this is one of our strategic assets. It is somewhere we've been developing and working on for a long time, and very recently we've brought in a BP as a lead developer into the project. Now, I think, like in any other hydrogen projects, what we are pursuing in our projects is a combination of complementary capabilities of partners, compatible cultures, and alignment in objectives. And that is our theme of how we look at every joint venture, be it Salalah H2 or, for example, Geo. And what we try to do is that we have a nice combination of sufficiently diverse lead developers and partners that allows us to look at things in a different way, in each of the joint ventures, so that we can not only spread our bets for ourselves, but also spread the bets for Oman to see, well, how differently could you approach hydrogen challenges, and that's what we have in Hydro. We are currently working in a number of opportunities in that joint venture, and I would love to tell more, but I recognize it's the only project can speak on his behalf. And I think what I like in particular in that joint venture is the fact that it has an excellent location, and with DEME we have a partnership that stems for years now, where we are equally determined, and we are pleased to have brought in BP that now has the opportunity to show what can a company like BP do in Highport. And it's not yet time to count the chickens, but we certainly see some encouraging signs, and let's see what happens.
Very good. And it's definitely, in my view, it's a flagship project showing the way as well, because not just because it started before the others, but also I find the structure of that joint ventures, that partnership, very interesting. You've got the national energy champion here. You've got one of the European leaders with the ability of bringing green molecules into one of the key entry points in the north part of Europe, Antwerp, Rotterdam,
Yes,
and
right.
feeding ammonia, cracking ammonia, feeding the hydrogen backbone pipeline that we've been talking about in Europe and so on. So that is definitely also showing the way of how you can make a project bankable, if we could use the financiers' expression here. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Staying in Duqm, I wondered if you could, and again, the audience do not look for details on the project in particular, but more like the philosophy, the approach, certainly a description of the structure, maybe the rationale of the partnership. And I'm thinking about the GEO project with Shell as a prominent partner in there, as well as Intercontinental Energy and Intertech. Of course, it's a different setup. Similar size in the fact that it's a mega scale.
It is a large plot of land.
So I'd like you, if you could highlight maybe a few aspects of that project, and maybe also in comparison with other projects that you've observed.
Yeah, indeed. Well, indeed, I think it's without a doubt that GEO has a large plot of land. And therefore there are large expectations. About maturing the project. I would say at the moment, we're in a place in the development of the hydrogen industry there where you have to move in sync with the market, and it's very been well publicized of some of the bottlenecks existing on the market. Now, what I always say to our partners is that it's important to move in step with the market, but also to move, and that's what we are encouraging to do. Every venture in our portfolio is to show what can we do to alleviate, to manage to bring down the costs and to improve the price element to make projects happen. And it's a conversation we have in every joint venture. And striking that right balance between not moving too soon, but also moving where we can, dealing with controllables, I think is key for every our venture. And time will tell, which approach works. Nobody knows yet what it means to be the perfect company in the hydrogen world.
No.
And that's why we have different developers and partners that we can test which approaches work. So in that sense, I think we are in a very interesting time in hydrogen where, it's not that straightforward. It's not easy. But I think with the group of companies we've got, something's bound to come out.
Very good. No, as you said, it comes with an emerging market, comes with new challenges, sometimes unforeseen challenges. We all fall back on what we know, what we have done before, don't we? So the energy market, utility market, engineering aspect of it, operation, de-risking project, is all things we've done in the past, especially for people who have been in the business for a while. And it's a matter of applying those methodology to the new market. So I do agree. But it puts OQ in a very interesting position because you have, let's use the expression, several eggs in different baskets. And as you rightly said, you will learn, you will be driving the learning curve here in this country, definitely, Akram. You in particular in your position and in business development, because you're on the heart of all that. And I'd like to shift a little bit geographically, if you allow me to do that. We, for the audience as well, is some areas have been earmarked for the development of green hydrogen and green derivatives. It has been doing so because they are favorable for the best combination of solar energy and wind. The next port of call is further south, the large city of, or the biggest city of Oman in Salalah, which has been operating a commercial port for a long time, successfully so. That's a strategic point as well for Oman, as well as for the region, for many reasons. You OQAE is involved into another mega scale project. So it's another basket of experience being built up there. The Salalah hydrogen, different setup, different experience, most likely, different schedule as well. But again, the common ground is large scale. That's what should make green hydrogen cost effective and economically tradable, let's say. If you're okay, if you could give us a description of that setup and also maybe the peculiarity of Salalah as well as compared to Duqm.
Yeah, indeed. I think Salalah is also extremely well situated in terms of taking advantage of the resource in Dhofar region. We also have a lead developer who is very, very determined not only to pursue transition but also to reduce the costs, to go after cost, and that is an attitude that we feel is quite essential to these days to hydrogen, because it's only the companies, in my view, that set a target can actually deliver the cost reduction. And I think companies like Marubeni, companies like Samsung that are in that consortium, they have a market insight, market access, and a fire in the belly, as it were, to pursue a cost levels that can actually unlock the markets for us, as well as, in case of Marubeni, have a market insight that can help us, pick a key to the Japanese market. So this is a joint venture where energy levels are very, very high, and that we are very, very pleased about. And there are, of course, ups and downs in the joint in the journey. But we're also, I think we discussed foreign markets, we discussed foreign governments. I think I also wanted to thank Omani government in actually being able to improve investment terms, which partners from a number of joint ventures have requested of the government to help the projects to weather the storm that we have now. I always liken it to when you walk in a wadi, you want to make sure, if it's a long journey, you have a bit few less to carry. And I think the government has responded positively by improving investment terms that allows us to go, to continue putting money into projects, into trying unlock the markets and in trying to attack costs. So that was quite key in what came, from the government this year. And unfortunately, the governments in our export markets have not been quite as forthcoming in enabling the markets, but we have a patience to see how to wait for that.
Absolutely.
So that is I think that is a typical story of Salalah project at the moment, and in some ways that's also similar to some of the others. That's where we're looking for. We're trying to solve the cost and revenue challenges for the sector.
As you rightly say, Akram, we also here in this geography, we also depend on the progress that other geographic areas will make with their legislation, with their regulation, in particular the carbon content regulation. You and I have worked in Europe for long enough to know that there is a lot of intense debate about trying to align all the European Union partners on a legislation, a carbon value, and so on and so forth. So definitely that's an element that I'm sure is taken into account very seriously in your project sensitivity analysis or risk analysis.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll shift a little bit from the mega scale. They are necessary. You cannot achieve an economic scale unless, or an economic cost of green molecules unless you scale up. That's stating the obvious. What I find interesting is OQ has also announced a very interesting project, which is more of a pilot project in Duqm. So we're back to the heart of the green hydrogen hub.
Yes, indeed.
I'd like you to share with the audience a little bit what it's all about. I suspect and I believe that's to also test a little bit of your assumptions, technology-wise. But it would be very interesting to see that while you are contributing to the development of mega-scale project, $1 billion investment, you're also running and leveraging the research and development capabilities of OQ in a pilot project. So indeed, I'll let you maybe share with us a little bit what you can do.
And I think some of the audience might say, well, why is Oman looking at pilot projects? Because surely they are, the fact that you can manufacture hydrogen through electrolysis is proven. So why? And there are very good reasons to do that. And we keep asking ourselves this question. Now, we have now just finished a study of what could that project look like, and what should that project focus on, and there are a number of things we'd like to test with this project. So first of all, of course, green hydrogen projects, have existed around the world, right? But this would be the first project to say, well, how can you manage operation of a plant in Oman in a situation of specifically with key factors in Oman. So for instance, with the sun in Oman and the fact that you may have to go up and down in your electrolyzer, how well we can do that. How can you address those factors into a day-to-day operation of electrolyzer? The second interesting challenge is the fact that we now have a newcomer in our market, or in the energy market, is Chinese manufacturers. So one thing we would like to test is potentially, how would perhaps a less known names but much more ambitious in helping to bring hydrogen costs down. Maybe we'd like to start that test with a small project rather than $1 billion project. But that can potentially help us de-risk much bigger things. And the third reason is, of course, we also want to start setting up, and that is a very reasonable expectation of our government stakeholders, is to start building a Omani hydrogen ecosystem. It may be today in the world that electric vehicles are quite a bit ahead of hydrogen, but that may not necessarily last for a long time. So we need to start testing that in Oman. How would that work? So we're looking at electrification angle. We're also looking at how can we supply in small quantities hydrogen to some of our affiliated companies to kickstart a transition to hydrogen on a bigger scale. So, and of course, Oman is a country of very pragmatic people. They would like to see the electrolyzer, before committing hundreds of millions or billions of dollars into it. And I think that also, that's one of the roles is for, I think one of the folks in the that set up this call, they asked us, well, what is it that will help people in Oman to see the advantages of hydrogen? And I think those pilot projects that you can show to people and say, well, this is what it looks like, and it's real, and it's happening, goes a long way in making a hydrogen a household name, or at least on the journey of making hydrogen a household name in Oman. So there are a number of reasons, and we hope that later this year or early next year we can make further steps in advancing the project. But let's see what the time brings.
That's good, actually. I can't wait from driving from Muscat, filling up a hydrogen tank in a car and refilling in Duqm.
Yes,
that would be excellent.
Absolutely. It will be a journey, but I hope we'll get there someday.
It will be a journey, actually. It's been a journey in other places in the world who started before us, including Germany is an example, but also Japan and South Korea and China now, which is basically booming with enhancing the infrastructure, refilling stations, and hydrogen production. So I think it's a matter of time before it happens. Actually, if you had to guess, Akram, when you will be assuming you stay long enough in this country, which I think you will, if you like it, when would be the year when you'll be driving a hydrogen car, Akram? When would that be? And I won't hold you on that one.
Yeah. Well, there are a number of scenarios of how things go, but it's quite possible that what will tell more about success of hydrogen in Oman,
Yep.
I mean, it could be automotive sector, but it could also be cracking ammonia in Japan, cracking Omani ammonia, co-firing Omani ammonia in Japan, or cracking ammonia from Oman in Europe. It could also be green steel in Oman. It could also be enhanced sustainable aviation fuel somewhere in Europe or in the UK. So what we're trying to do now, we are trying to explore multiple vectors to diversify our bets on hydrogen. Or even more, or if you want to go upstream, to diversify the fact that Oman has such a wonderful solar and wind resource. Much of that comes down to hydrogen, and then there are multiple pathways. So in a wonderful world of success, I see planes fueled by Omani SAF. I see ships being filled by Omani ammonia. And nobody knows the right answer, not yet. But I'm confident that the future will involve at least a few of those things.
Absolutely. And I wish you the best with this pilot project, by the way. I'd like for the last part of our chat here to explore the human resources side of it. We can scale up as much as we want. We can optimize machineries and so on. But unless we have human beings running it, operating it, maintaining it, building it, then it's not going to go too far. So I'd like to explore with you a little bit two aspects of the human resources and the talents in this country. The first one being education or training knowledge, and what's the OQ alternative energy view on that and your contribution to that. And the second part, maybe if we have 1 minute left, is what OQAE could do for the community where the project is going to be developed.
Sure. So you made an excellent point about a human factor for hydrogen, and I think one of many excellent human factors that make Oman excellent for hydrogen is the fact that Omanis are very patient. I think that's what hydrogen needs at the moment, because there are a number of things in the game. Markets haven't quite materialized in the way that may have promised a few years ago. So it's really that Omani patience, I think, is key in making sure that we steadily build pathway to a economically profitable hydrogen export and economically profitable domestic industry. So that's one human dimension, as it were. So I think of many ways in which hydrogen, but also clean power, can help, can build on human capital in Oman. So, for instance, at the moment, of course, there are already very, very capable international companies involved in hydrogen as well as renewables, and they are coming to Oman. Now, the fact that we have OQ, company that is Oman-owned, where majority of staff are Omani, that actually brings a very significant element of Omanization of the sector in itself. The second factor is also the fact that it also brings fairly cutting-edge things in Oman. Because scale-up of hydrogen is a very modern challenge. There isn't a company that can say, well, we've learned it abroad and now we're going to bring it to Oman. No, they're going to learn it in Oman, and of course with that, it will be Omanis that will be running. We have in our joint ventures, we have a number of secondees, Omani secondees, into international joint ventures. So our Omanis are on the cutting edge of how this industry is developing. And we are working on initiatives in enhanced sustainable aviation fuel, in enhanced natural gas, or methanation. These is all quite a rocket science. Yeah, and if we can bring those things to Oman, yeah, this could be a revolution in terms of the advancement of advanced technologies, advanced business models that we can bring to Oman.
And benefiting the young talent
absolutely.
in Oman as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And then there is also perhaps another element I'll mention that has to do more with a small business. Yeah. Now we are present in a sector of 50 megawatts and above, right? Now, of course, it's a sector where we would like more Omani companies to come in. And the way that we approach this, which we've also tested on a block on a block 60 solar development for OQENP, is that we are very flexible with our tender requirements to companies, so we can open up doors for Omani companies. Yeah, because it's very easy to say that what we'd like is a company with many years of experience in renewables, which is a very unrealistic requirement if you want to improve Omanization. So what we do, we say we would like companies that have energy experience. So if you're a Omani company that has energy experience, that may well be enough. What's important is that you qualify experience, not necessarily through yourself as an institution, but by bringing in experienced people to work in Omani companies. Right. Yeah. So that flexibility, for instance, allowed us to attract interest of about 70 companies in a tender, of which more than, I think, almost 30 companies have actually acquired tender documentation, and quite a large number of companies actually bid for it. Yeah. So being flexible opens opportunity. Yeah. And then I'd like to also bring a factor, I mentioned projects above 50 megawatts, but under 50 megawatts, there's also ample opportunity for small businesses. Yeah. Much in the same way it happened in Europe, where, if somebody wants to install the rooftop on their, wants to install rooftop solar, yeah, for residential or for business, 1 megawatt or 50 megawatts or 10 megawatts, this is where small business comes in, because this is a wonderful opportunity for small businesses to come in and to become small-scale solar developers. Yeah. So the opportunity is incredible. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Akram. I think we've covered quite a bit of ground today on from an OQ alternative energy perspective. Usually we close with one last point, which is usually the messages and maybe in particular to the young people who are listening to us from far away as well as from Oman. So feel free to share with them.
I think my message to particularly young Omanis, if you mentioned them, and it's the message that I give to our young Omanis in the office quite a lot, is the fact that those working in hydrogen today in Oman have an opportunity to shape the industry. It's an opportunity that may no longer exist in oil and gas, in the sense that oil and gas is already a highly successful industry with already explored ways, with established ways. Yeah, it's an incredibly important industry. Yeah, but the industry where one person could still make a lot of difference is hydrogen or clean power. Yeah, and that is my call for action, or something that I hope inspires or attracts people to this industry, because there is so much to do. There is such an opportunity to make a difference.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, to the young people listening to us, come and join us to contribute to this emerging market. It's a fascinating one. Akram, many, many thanks for making the time to come and meet me today and discuss all that. I was delighted to spend that time and cover all these important points. So thank you very much. We'll see you at the Green Hydrogen Summit Oman in December.
Indeed. Thank you for the opportunity, Lionel. It's been a pleasure to share OQE perspective in Oman, on the world, and hydrogen. And we'll see you soon. Hopefully.
See you soon. This closes the Energy Talks episode. I want to thank our sponsor, iSafety, as well. And we shall see you at the next Energy Talks coming soon. Thank you.